Hello guys, welcome back to this channel. This is a series of videos on project management. Today's video will be on float and or slack. So at the end of this video you'll understand what is meant by float and how to calculate float or slack. So if you are new to this channel, I recommend you see my playlist on previous videos on how to construct network diagram and critical paths before proceeding to this video. So revision on previous concepts. On last two videos we have seen important concepts about network diagram and critical paths. We have seen that network diagram is a graphical representation of the sequence and dependence, or you can say that logical relationship among different activities. So network diagram is a basis before estimating critical path of any network, and in that network diagram you have many paths, and the path that has the longest duration is known as a critical path, or critical path is the longest path through the entire network. We have also seen that critical path has no float, so any activities on the critical path must not be delayed. So any delay or any delay in completing critical activities will result in extended time on the project duration. So as to meet the project deadline, you have to follow strictly the critical path. But any activities on the non-critical path can be delayed. So what is float or slack? So we'll start with the definition. Float is the amount of time in which an activity can be delayed without affecting the project deadline or affecting the project end date. You can also define float as the amount of time by which an activity can start and that activity may be delayed without affecting the overall project completion time. So by delaying a certain activities on non-critical paths is known as float. So the amount of time that you delay activities on non-critical paths is known as float, and those critical activities has no float, but non-critical activities can have float. So activities on non-critical paths can be delayed with a certain amount of time without affecting the project deadline. So you can delay non-critical activities and still meet the project deadline, but you will not delay critical activities. So we have seen this. You can remember this diagram from previous videos. We have seen how to estimate the critical path. The critical path is path DEH. So we'll use this example to estimate the float. So float calculation. So how can one calculate float? So remember that float on the critical path is 0. So the label f is equals to 0, f is equals to 0, f is equals to 0 is to represent that activity D, activity E, and activity H must not be delayed, but activity A, B, C, F, and G can be delayed since they are not on the critical path. So float can be calculated by using this formula. So if you subtract non-critical path from the critical path, you can obtain float. As an example, you have critical path which is DEH. So for path ACFG, you can subtract ACFG from the critical path which is DEH. So 11 minus 9, you have 2. For another path AB, subtracting DEH minus AB, you have 11 minus 7, which is 2. So activity A, B, C, F, G can be delayed for period of duration of 2, and still the project can meet its deadline. So the float will be 2 for these activities. Let's see another example. So for this example, we have paths ABC, DBC, DEF, GEF, and GHI. So we'll start calculating the float. So notice that activities G, H, and I are on the critical path, and hence the float is 0. F is equals to 0, F is equals to 0, F is equals to 0 is to represent the float on the critical path is 0. So for path ABC, similarly as in the previous example, we'll subtract path ABC, which is the non-critical, from the critical path GHI. So 31 minus 18, we have 13. For path DBC, we have 31 minus 16, you have 15. For path for path DEF, you have 31 minus 13, you have 18. For path GEF, you have 31 minus 20, you have 11. So we have the float for the 4 paths, meaning paths ABC, DEF, DBC, and GEF. So this will be the floats. But what about the float? Let's say, for example, what will be the float for D? The float for D is different from float from A, float from B, and float from C. Since the activity D is both on path DBC and DEF, we'll take a float smaller of a float from DBC and DEF. So the smaller of 15 and 18 will be 15. So this is how we calculate float. If you find this video helpful, please don't forget to subscribe to this channel. I'll see you in the next video.